What active ingredients can you combine with retinol?
Most things.
And this is our episode. Thank you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Victoria has wrapped it up really well. All right, welcome back to the Chemist Confessions Podcast. I'm Gloria.
I'm Victoria.
This is a podcast on all the skincare science we talk about on the daily. And today is a meets episode on all things retinol.
Hell yeah.
I can't believe we've never done this in like the 3 years we've been doing this podcast.
How did we miss this?
I feel like we just keep thinking like, oh my God, we talk so much about retinol. Like we talked about this before, but we really haven't. So
we're so good at content planning.
so good.
All
But
right.
Before we get into that, let's open up with some nice words.
All right, let's do it. So our first nice words is about our double play retinol product on theme. The title is Great Product. This person writes, I have been using Chemist Confessions Retinol Double Play since October 2022 and have only this August started a new tube. Wow. Great longevity of product. I apply 1 or 2 pumps each evening to my face and neck and have noticed a marked improvement in my skin. My marionette lines are plumped and less noticeable. Age-related hyperpigmentation is lessened. Wow. These terms, I'm sorry, they're just like so on point and technical.
Yep.
I have not experienced any sensitivity or redness with this regular usage. I especially like the efficient packaging, enabling the user to extract the full tube worth of product without wastage. So much fancy packaging prevents efficient extraction of the product, resulting in expensive wastage, and we totally agree.
Yep.
Yeah.
So awesome. Of course, we have to put in a double play review for the retinol episode.
Yep.
Next one is, the title is It's Amazing, and it's about our Aquafix Hydrating Water Gel.
Hell yeah.
And the review goes, I have acne-prone skin but can also get red and dry. I started using this as my moisturizer, and while it's not quite enough to keep me from getting flaky when I'm using the Specialist, I've started using it as my serum step mixed with the Specialist, and it's incredible. Doesn't clog my pores or make me break out, doesn't burn like some moisturizers do, and I don't immediately get greasy and oily by the time I get to work. I love it. And also I love the Specialist. I have easily congested pores and use a drop or two in the Aquafix once a week, as a mask seems to keep my pores clear and smooth and even shrink 2 spots of sebaceous hyperplasia I have.
Again, people with these terms and the technical terms that you guys use, I'm always so blown away, but
Yay! So for those of you who are new to our brand, Aquafix is completely water-based. There's no water, there's no oil. There's no oil at all in the formula.
Yeah.
Like this person says, for those with oily skin, it might be enough as a standalone moisturizer, especially under sunscreen, which is generally speaking a little oily. For someone like me who have dry skin, really treat this as your hydrating serum under your moisturizer.
Yeah. And if you are oily, you can follow her recommendations, as she also lists that she has oily skin as well, but you can even use it sometimes as a standalone moisturizer, depending your climate and your oily skin scenario.
Yeah, I love how experimental our followers are getting.
Yes, y'all are the best. Yes. Y'all are our people. All right. Last one. This is about the experiment kit. And for those of you who don't know what this kit is, this is our kit of minis. We used to have the box of goodies. We had the travel buddy, and now we have the experiment. And the experiment actually gives you a full routine that includes our blank slate cleanser as well. So this person writes, the title is Smorgasbord of Samples. Great title. This flight of products is a terrific entry point into the Chemist lineup. I dream of packaging that looks like a beer paddle. Actually, we do too.
That sounds like
great.
fun.
There's enough in each sample to give you a feel for texture, scent, interactions with other products, and irritation potential without the risks associated with a blind investment. Very analytical. Yeah. Plus, you can choose your treatment option so you get a product tailored to your skin concerns and sensitivity. I chose baby steps, and although my skin has reacted angrily to every single AHA PHA I've tried to use at any concentration or frequency, adding a drop of this into my moisturizer 2 to 3 times a week has reversed my previous chemical exfoliation ban. That's so beautiful. Very happy with these products, and several full-size purchases are forthcoming.
Woo! We love this. Again, I feel like the theme of this week's Nice Words is people get experimental with the products and really figure out what works for them.
Very methodical, I feel like. Yeah.
I love it. And I feel like that's always the point of what we want to achieve with this brand is, we want to give the power to the user, to kind of get that know-how to maneuver, get to know your own skin.
Totally. So we love all our customers. We highly recommend you guys to check out the reviews for yourself because a lot of them leave their skin type, their routine, and it's very helpful for those who really are trying to narrow down for their skin scenario. And we don't pay them for it. So thank you. Otherwise, promo code?
Yes. For all podcast listeners, please use the code podcastship and get free shipping on any order of any size and works on expedited shipping.
Woo-hoo.
And maybe stackable. So yeah, definitely check out our product and start at the experiment kit if you're not sure what might work for your skin.
All right. Let's get into the meats.
Oh, can't you tell I've been avoiding this?
Let's get into the meats.
All right, let's go. Retinol.
All right, Gloria, why retinol?
Okay, we have to talk about the retinoids umbrella. Retinol is just one of many retinoids. And you might hear the word retinoid and get a little confused as to what it means. Retinoid is a family of related compounds in the vitamin A family. And they span a couple different categories and different ways you can get them. So Accutane or isotretinoin is the oral prescription that you can get for acne. And tretinoin is kind of that prescription gold standard that you can get in offices. And tretinoin is almost kind of that start of how this category of anti-aging gold standards came about. People who are prescribed tretinoin for their acne notice that, holy crap, my skin also looks younger, tighter, brighter, the works. But getting a prescription, depending on where you're at, can be a pain and it might not be right for everyone. And that's when the industry turned to retinol. A lot of people will refer to retinol as OTC. That's not quite technically correct.
No.
It's a cosmetic. What that means is you won't see the drug facts label. There's only one actually OTC retinoid on the market that is adapalene. You might know it as different. And you'll see the drug facts label with 0.1% adapalene on the packaging.
Yeah.
Yes.
But today's focus is going to be about retinol. The reason being is because, and we should also say the retinol history has been very long.
Yes.
And through this history, a lot has been done also because of the popularity behind it to optimize it because retinoids in general are not very stable and has been tested the most. And so because of that and its popularity and how it's been put in so many products now, this is our focus for the meats. We will say that after retinol, there's now a lot of third, fourth gen retinoids out there.
Brand active, Retionl, a lot of derivatives.
And we probably won't get into that aspect too much, but we will do a comparison of some of the key ones to give you guys an idea of how to choose or discern, what if retinol is right for you. Yeah.
So these are one of the most important things about retinol and why we tout it as a gold standard cosmetic form of it is you basically know exactly how it compares to tretinoin in terms of levels, what kind of results you can expect, because it's been done multiple times. So we'll go over a couple clinicals really quickly. In this test, retinol, I'm just going to read the bits from the abstract really quickly. Retinol has been shown to improve the appearance of photo-damaged skin when applied topically. This is generally considered to be approximately 10 times less potent than tretinoin. So in this clinical, they tested formulations containing 0.25, 0.5, and 1% retinol. And then they tested with a corresponding 0.025, 0.05, and 0.1% tretinoin. And this is double-blinded, split-phase comparison study that was done for... Yes, so this was done for 12 weeks, and basically each group has about 20 people. All 20 used, retinol on one side and the corresponding tret on the other side. And by the end of the 12 weeks, across all parameters, it appears to be on par.
Yeah, I think that's a really important highlight to remember because if you talk about the retinoic acid pathway in skin, right? A lot of people feel like, oh, retinol is such a step down from tretinoin, and I am missing out on the activity of tretinoin. So I think this paper is really, it's great to remind people of. It's you don't always have to push for this, especially if you're not trying to treat acne. I think that's the thing is acne and it being prescription, people just have this really high expectation of what tretinoin can do. And I think I did want to mention that this study was actually done by Skin Medica. And probably the only, if we were to put one asterisk on this is retinol sometimes can be source dependent.
Yes.
And so that's probably the only thing we would if we want to just get really picky on details, that's just something to keep in mind. But for the most part, I think everyone should find comfort that retinol at these percentages can perform on par.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what we love about retinol and why we kind of tout it still as something that basically like you should start here is this is not just a one study. There are other studies too, and we'll go over one more that compared it to tretinoin. So this is a different study. This one is also a 12-week study, double-blinded, and it recruited 45 women aged between 35 to 65 to do this study. What's different about the study is they used a step-up protocol where the patients increased the dose of retinol from 0.25 to 0.5 to 1%, or alternatively use a tretinoin cream from 0.025 to 0.05 to 0.1 in combination with a test moisturizer. And then they grade their skin based on the severity of photo damage. And so after 12 weeks of use, both the retinol serum and the tretinoin demonstrated on par performance. And
the retinol serum subjects showed significant improvements by week 4 in visual skin smoothness compared to tretinoin. But for the retinol serum, they had highly significant improvement in skin dryness, which is not seen in the tretinoin group.
Yeah, and they even did like a punch biopsy to show that in both groups, you see that epidermal thickening associated with all the brand new juicy collagen that you're getting.
Yeah.
And they actually saw greater epidermal thickening in retinol compared to the tretinoin group.
Yeah.
We will say, don't jump to conclusion that this is saying that tretinoin is not as good as retinol.
Totally.
We just want to reference this paper to show that this comparison has been done multiple times, and you can draw that conclusion that, okay, retinol can perform like a tretinoin in the anti-aging department.
And be less irritating.
Yep.
I think that's the main takeaway, and it's also why I really like to emphasize to people, it's like, you don't have to have tretinoin to try to get wrinkle reduction. For some reason, I feel like that's just something that people feel like they have to go to a Curology or something.
Yeah, and brands of Curology does make it a little easier to get your hand on tret, but definitely don't get FOMO if you feel like, I already have a great retinol routine. Is the next step of tretinoin? Not necessarily.
Totally. No need for that FOMO. Cool. All right, so that was tretinoin.
Yes.
We should talk about retinol.
Retinol with an A is one of the most popular questions we got in our poll.
Yes, and I understand why, because people, they hear about the pathway. They know that it's tretinoin is the direct molecule. It's going to interact with your retinoid receptors, right? Then you got retinol, now with an A, and then retinol. So then everyone's like, wait, then we're missing out on retinaldehyde.
Yep. So we got 2 questions from a poll. Bobby Gilday asked, what is the difference between retinol and retinol? Which is stronger? And then Delia Adams also asked, is retinol better than retinol? Well, we found a study on this. This is a 3-month study, so also about 12 weeks. They tested retinol with an A at 0.1% and 0.05%. And they saw that photo aging improved in both groups. Great texture improvement, even reduced transepidermal water loss. And what's funky here is they didn't see a difference between the 0.1 group and 0.05 group. But only the 0.1% group significantly improved the melanin index. So that hyperpigmentation finding benefit only comes in at 0.1%. So yeah, that's it. The end. So it's not. So right now, our problem with it is it's theoretically stronger on that scale.
Yes.
Right. But how does it actually perform compared to retinol, like a side-by-side comparison, or how does it even compare to your tretinoin? I don't know, man. I don't see anything out there that tested it like that.
I gotta be honest, as a chemist, formulator, industry insiders, we think this thing is hella unstable.
It's super duper unstable, and I don't even see a lot of good data validating methods to stabilize it in formula.
Yeah, we will say though, popularity is growing, for sure. So I could see that it's gonna improve as time goes on. But for now, this is kind of why we like to keep the spotlight and recommendation on retinol first, just because it's just been through the ringer for so much longer. But yeah, that's just how our feels are right now until something changes.
Based on what we see in the data, there's just not as many testing. There's less testing than even retinol palmitate on retinol. Anyway, can of worms. But if you do want to try retinol, just know that based on this paper, you should still aim for something with a transparent percentage. 0.1 seems like a good starting point, the target. Yeah,
Is it better? We don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Yeah, but hopefully that gives you an idea of how to approach it.
Yep.
All right. Next one, adapalene, my favorite.
Yep. So we don't talk about adapalene a lot.
No.
And we did get a question from Austin Bunny that asked, I never see anyone talking about different, but isn't it the highest grade retinoid OTC?
Highest grade is weird. Retinoid OTC, yes.
Yes, it is the only retinoid OTC. It is approved for acne. So then the question that people always ask is, well, is it also anti-aging?
But there's a study.
Yep, there's a few studies. There is one, we found a study that compared a 0.3% adapalene gel to a tretinoin 0.05% cream.
Comparison studies.
Retinol, take notes. I couldn't even find something like this for you. So in this study, to evaluate whether or not adapalene 0.3% is comparable with tretinoin 0.05%. And based on the retinol study and percentage comparison study, we can say this is in that neighborhood of 0.5% retinol strength.
Tested for 24 weeks.
Yep.
Let me just put it out there.
Yeah, so this was actually evaluated for a pretty long time.
Awesome.
And the result is that both treatments did not differ significantly regarding clinical evaluation for the following criteria: global cutaneous, photoaging, periorbital wrinkles,
Nice, crow's feet.
melanosis, forehead wrinkles,
Pigmentation.
Yep.
What's AK?
I don't know. That's why I didn't say it. And AK. And AK.
We're gonna cut that out, but
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, that's exciting, but it's 0.3% adapalene.
Yeah.
What that means is it's a prescription level, prescription strength adapalene. You would need a prescription for that, not something you could buy in a drugstore. So
Yeah. Can you
kind of helpful? Not
Yeah.
helpful? I don't know.
And I will say, like, you might think, okay, so that's 0.3. At the drugstore level, it's 0.1. So divided by 3, I'm getting like a 0.1% retinol efficacy.
I don't know. It's hard to say.
Sadly, we don't have the data for that. So it's hard to say. So that's why we don't really talk about adapalene in the realm of like fighting hyperpigmentation or anti-aging, because we just don't know, especially at the OTC level.
Yeah. And I would say, honestly, is there a case? Like, if you were thinking about, like, you know, working on retinol, ramping it up versus a 0.1% adapalene, I feel like there's not really a necessary case to choose adapalene.
Yeah.
I would say. Because, you're still, in terms of gentleness, I mean, adapalene is supposed to be more gentle than tretinoin, but is it more gentle than retinol? I would say that's actually, you still have a purging onboarding phase. So I don't really see the trade-off to, you know, kind of switch over.
For sure. But we will say different or other adapalene you can get your hands on OTC. Still a great option for acne and a lot more economical than prescription tretinoin.
Hell yeah. Also, some great data in using in conjunction with BPO. We're going to get into acne scarring eventually. I think it's coming up. So,
Totally.
But anyways, I had to put that out there. All right.
So that was a quick run through of the retinoid umbrella
and comparisons.
So, and why we spend so much time on retinol specifically. We'll break it up, and then in part 2, we'll finally get into all the ins and outs of retinol and using retinol in your routine.
Hell yeah! All right,
Let's do it.
To
break it up. Elephant back corner. All right, I have to give a shout out to my husband who actually submitted this. I didn't even think he paid attention to our podcast. He's like, babe, you should talk about this, and sends me this NPR link. So
that's awesome.
We're talking about a company local to us in Glendale, California, called the Fire Grazers.
Okay.
It
sounds very Chris, though.
It is very Chris, yeah. It is a company with 300 very hardworking goats. So the fire...
Okay. Anyways. All right, we're talking about goats today.
Yep. So
all right, let's do it.
Glendale, California. For those of you unfamiliar with California and Southern California specifically, it is dry, and we get
surprisingly not this year, but yes.
Yes, and there's a lot of issues with forest fires of the past. There was a couple years where it was really, really bad.
When Gloria first visited me in LA, there was a wildfire literally outside her window that she could see.
Yeah. And if you go hiking in LA, you will come back very dusty. That's how dry it is. And a lot of bushes just look a little crunchy.
So little crunchy is putting it very nicely.
Yes. So these like undergrowth, these dry shrubs can catch fire and spread fire very easily.
Yeah.
So in comes the fire grazers.
Okay.
These goats are working hard. And for those of you who don't know, I think like there's parts of town I even try using goats as like lawnmowers because they can eat.
Yes.
So they will eat anything, and they're working hard at just minimizing this like dry, dead bushes. And I'll just quote the owner of this company. He says, "It's mind-boggling that they'll even eat star thistle, considering it's so painful to grab," he said.
Is that the one with the burrs? Like
Yeah.
the little spikes?
Yeah, the little spike and like, actually not little. They don't look very little.
Wait, let me just Google what a star thistle looks like. Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, we're talking like toothpicks.
Yeah, that's something
Nice.
that if you see on a hike, you're like, whoa, nope, 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 nope.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said, it's invasive. It just spreads everywhere, which I didn't actually know that in California, there are all these invasive plant species that's making the fire problem worse. It just spreads everywhere, and if you try to weed whack it, you will wind up getting poked in the face and then all over your body.
It doesn't look fun.
But then the ghosts will just come up and they'll just eat it because they think it's delicious.
Nice.
Yep.
Savory toothpicks.
Yeah.
It's just pretty to look at.
Yeah. And I find this stat to be hilarious. The goats can eat up to 1 acre a day.
Wow.
Yeah. And they
Yeah.
have been working with the city since 2018. And there's been a fire in this area since every year, with the exception of 2022. What I find really here's a picture of the goats eating
a
away.
goat.
The owner of Fire Grazer have said that they're so popular that now they've been hired by a lot of different towns in the SoCal area,
That's awesome.
and he's thinking about increasing his goat fleet size to 900 or so.
Wow.
Yeah, and
That's a lot.
yeah. What I find really interesting here doesn't even have anything to do with the goats. They say the city owns about 500 parcels of land, and with the budget that's allocated to fire prevention, $62,000 plus another $14,000 specifically for the goats, they can only afford to clear a fraction of it every year.
Wait, only 62,000?
No, yeah, that's exactly my take when I read that. I was like, did they miss a zero? Like, the city of Glendale is not poor. And one would think fire is a pretty big problem.
Wow.
Yeah, and only
62,000.
Yeah.
14,000 is actually a pretty sizable chunk then.
Yeah, 62,000. Like, what are you hoping to accomplish? That's barely one full-time employee to do anything. Like, just pulling shrubs by hand
right.
every day.
You're right. That is that salary ain't gonna hold.
Yeah, so exactly. That was something that actually made me do a double take. Like, what? That's how much Glendale's allocating for fire prevention?
I am also, every time I hear about goats, I feel more and more impressed. And I feel like they are like
Monsters.
They're like a Marvel Avenger of animals. Like, they climb trees, they scream like humans, they have stomachs of steel. Like,
they eat anything.
Yeah.
They eat all day.
what can they not do?
You know what I think is fascinating is like,
They do yoga.
yeah, you can do yoga with them. They do everything. I think it's fascinating because like they don't need a ton of food to survive, but they can eat a ton of food if you let them. And the two of us have watched Clarkson Farms.
Yeah.
They also don't give a shit. They're just like the happiest creatures on earth. They'll just kick you over for fun.
Yes, it's true. It's true. Yeah. Oh, yay, the fire grazer.
Fire Grazer, so check it out.
I feel like they should. Fire grazer is such a good name.
Yeah, I love
and I
it.
feel like at first when I heard it, I thought it was like one of those Harley bike gangs.
Yeah,
I feel like they'd make a great bike gang. Anyways.
for sure.
All right.
So check them out. The goats are amazing. And city of Glendale and all these other cities, you can probably spare a little bit more budget to fire prevention. Just
Rent some goats.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. All right, it's time.
Meet part 2.
Let's wrap this up.
Retinol in your routine. This is how we're gonna do this. Victoria's stretching because she's getting ready for this rapid fire session.
Okay.
We get a lot of questions about this, so we're gonna try to address them all in one go. What active ingredients can you combine with retinol?
Most things.
And this is our episode. Thank you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Victoria has wrapped it up really well.
I'm out of here.
All right, cool. We're gonna go through it rapid fire style. Victoria, retinol with niacinamide.
Fine. Wait, I'm getting fired.
This is a bueno combination. Niacinamide.
Gloria's like, you're really gonna make me do all the work here.
This is actually 2 rapid fire. Retinol vitamin C, great. Retinol HA, do it.
Keep going. Okay, yes. Okay. Well, I think, retinol, niacinamide, we like this pairing.
Yes.
Niacinamide, we know it's your barrier helper. what better active to pair with your retinol that's in some ways can be irritating and kind of, it's bringing all this new skin cells to the surface. Think of this as your baby skin, so
Rising up.
yeah, exactly. So having niacinamide to kind of keep your skin happy and keeping that barrier fortified, great.
Yes, and they've actually been tested specifically together. Just keep an eye out and do a quick decode. Most retinol does formulate with niacinamide, or a lot of them do.
That's a really good point.
Our double play has 2% niacinamide, so it's at that it works, but lower threshold. But just keep an eye out so you don't over niacinamide your face.
Yeah.
Next, retinol and vitamin C.
I mean,
That's the reaction I was looking for. Yes, retinol has been tested specifically in conjunction with SAP, the sodium ascorbyl phosphate form. They kind of look at it as like that combo acne helper.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's tested really well. If you have ascorbic acid, there is some people that think about the pH as a concern because retinol. There are studies out there that suggest the retinoid receptor work best at a pH, at skin's natural pH of 5-ish. But we would say it's not really a problem. You can always just use ascorbic acid during the day and use retinol at night.
Yeah, but great to have in your general routine. Both can bring a lot of different benefits. So, yeah.
Yep. Next.
Retinol and AHA. Yeah, I would say this one is definitely takes a little more finagling.
Yep.
Just because, with retinol's onboarding process, you want to make sure you're kind of balancing these two correctly, especially if you're using a higher strength AHA. Sometimes you may feel like they're almost adding to the acclimation phase together and it could worsen. So we would say this is something where we would like you guys to be a little bit more strategic. Pick one as your main focus. And if it's going to be retinol, we would say make sure your skin is set up nicely. You understand its behavior and schedule. And then you can start figuring out if you want to add in, maybe take a night off to include in that AHA back in.
Yeah. Ultimately, the combination can give you really great efficacy.
Yes, together.
They might both feel like they're quote unquote exfoliating because one of the retinol side effects is shedding, but the reality is they work on very different pathways.
Yeah.
So they can play well together, but like Victoria said, just like proceed with caution. And if you really want to commit to retinol, consider dialing back on your AHAs a little bit.
I was going to say, I think both our skin history experiences might be helpful in that, like, Gloria was one that grew up in, like, being the acid queen, I always call her. And I think because of that, your retinol onboarding experience took a lot longer.
Painful. I shed, I molt.
Yeah. But then for me, I was the opposite, where I was, like, so used to being on retinoids that, it was fine, where I could use retinol or adapalene or any of these like every day. But then if I put in the AHA, my skin would start feeling very unhappy. And so then I think I was able to work in, I do maybe like once a week the baby steps mask, but that's like good enough for me. I don't need anything more. So hopefully that gives you an idea of how to like think about putting these two together.
Yeah. That's a great point.
Yeah.
Cool. Next, retinol and other acne topicals such as salicylic and benzoyl peroxide.
People do it all the time.
do it.
Carefully. Just do it carefully.
Yeah. Just know that tretinoin and BPO used to have some drama in terms of BPO causing tretinoin to be unstable. But it has been tested quite a few times that, like with modern formulation and as our understanding grows, it's not really an issue anymore. Retinol has been specifically tested with BPO.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool.
Yes.
Yeah. And it looks like they've even tested retinol in conjunction with BPO. Gloria found a clinical that used a combination of 4% of benzoyl peroxide with 0.5% retinol. And there's also 1% mandelic and 1% lactobionic acid. Would say these percentages are kind of mild.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, they had patients apply it for 12 weeks twice a day. And in terms of results, they did find that this combination was very well tolerated for mild acne. And they did see a significant reduction for these acne lesions. I do want to always mention, and this is going off topic, is BPO is one of those weird ingredients that for some reason everybody thinks they need 10% when you don't. I think because of rapid wrinkle, clean and clear. Clean and clear, that rapid 10-minute like spot reducer. Everyone thinks like you must have 10% in order for it to work. And I like this paper because it highlights that you actually don't need that. A lot of times 10% can be so drying and
So
irritating.
drying.
And it's very off-putting. I think that's why people think BPO is so harsh. But anyway, so I wanted to highlight that here, especially for acne people.
Yeah. So if you want anti-aging and treat your acne, definitely a combination you can target.
Yeah.
Next, retinol. Another reason why people turn to retinol is for hyperpigmentation.
Yeah.
So what about retinol plus other hyperpigmentation actives such as arbutin, hydroquinone, kojic, tranexamic?
Fine.
Yeah. Do it.
Everyone's just going to hear me be like, fine. It's fine.
Yes, it's totally fine. In fact, tretinoin plus hydroquinone is often prescribed together if you go for some really heavy hitting hyperpigmentation prescription treatment.
Actually, I think it's great, and a lot of times it will end up being necessary for hyperpigmentation, just because if you remember from our previous episodes, it really takes a clan to tackle hyperpigmentation. So,
yeah, exactly. And they do, again, work on different pathways. So by using these things, you're not canceling each other out. You are adding like a meaningful different class of actives to your routine. So definitely great.
For sure.
All right, next. Okay, we have to mention this. We got this question a couple times. Organbiric, sorry, I butchered your handle. And also, UKPM23 asked about combining retinol with copper peptide. I'm going to channel my inner Victoria. It's fine.
Actually, and not even copper peptide, peptides in general, it's going to be pretty common to see.
Yes.
And it makes a lot of sense because a lot of peptides are targeted, especially copper peptides targeted towards anti-aging. And it should be fine.
Yeah, it's the combination itself isn't inherently bad or anything like that. Some of these ingredients can be fragile. Retinol is unstable. This is where you want to just be mindful and choose a brand you do trust to make sure they did their due diligence to make sure that their active have survived processing.
Yeah, and any testing is very helpful here for sure.
Yes.
All right. I like this one that you found.
Yes. So last but not least, our original retinol article, the title is Retinol, the tried and true way of putting off Botox. So when we get questions like, wait, so can I use retinol with Botox treatment?
Did not think that would be the next train of thought, but you're right.
Yeah. So we're like, all right, let's look into it. And lo and behold, and again, this is why we like retinol so much, because you ask us any questions, we can basically find a study on almost anything.
That's such a good point. Yes.
So yeah, take it away.
So yes. Actually, they have looked at retinol in combination with doing Botox. And so they actually had a group basically apply this skincare regimen that included retinol for 2 months post-Botox injection. And they also did put in and say that there was no touch-up injection after 1 month. And they did see that they did a 3D image analysis to show that there was more rapid results after day 10 and enhanced efficacy after month 2 with the addition of retinol. So with that, they basically have shown that with injection and the addition of retinol, they did see clinical benefits for fine lines and wrinkles and smoothness of the whole face. So it is helpful to use with your Botox.
Yeah. So I think the thing to keep in mind is definitely pay attention to how your skin is recovering. I'm sure you'll get instructions from your caretaker. But Botox downtime should be fairly short. But if you are careful, if you want to be mindful of not irritating skin post-injection, just, if you get bruising, when that dies down, give it a couple days, then retinol is great.
Yeah. So I just wanted to follow up on the protocol. It seems like what they're doing is they are applying this product at night, pretty much right after the injection. So that's just some food for thought for those that are thinking about Botox and then when does the rest of your skincare come in.
Yep.
All right.
Cool. And I guess to wrap up, we have a second round of rapid fire.
Okay.
If you're ready to incorporate retinol into your routine, here is a quick guide.
Yeah.
All right. Percentage.
Yeah, so if you are absolute beginner, never touched retinol in your life, we want you to just look into the 0.1 to 0.3% category. If you are trying to graduate from that, you want a little higher strength, 0.5 is fine, and then your absolute max is going to be at 1%.
Morning or night?
That's honestly, you can use it morning or night. It's really dependent on your routine and what you've got going on. For the most part, people will want to use it at night because you've got a lot of actives and your sunscreen during the daytime. So that's kind of just how it is, but it's honestly whatever fits best. You just want to use it consistently.
Yes.
So whatever that's going to take.
And that brings us to the next question. How often should you use retinol? Ramp
Look,
up,
how often you use it.
ramp up to daily is the goal. Consistency is the key.
Yeah.
You can use it every other day, and just like when your skin goes through retinization, you will still see some improvement.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, you want to find a percentage where you can use basically nightly.
Yeah, that's a great point. All right, Goya, where does it go in your routine?
I think we briefly mentioned this, but retinol itself is an oil-based ingredient. You'll often find it in some sort of emulsified cream.
Yeah.
So it will go after your hydrating stuff. If you use a toner, a hydrating serum, it will go after that.
Yeah.
If you have a heavier duty moisturizer, or if you have dry skin, just want something that you know you can rely on for moisturization, use that after the retinol.
For sure. And what about eye area?
So you want to look for products that's specifically tested for the eye area.
Yep.
Retinol is also great for any sort of eye area concerns, but it can be really irritating. This is going to be very formula dependent. Experiment with it. Make sure it's a formula that doesn't run, and most ideally ones that have been tested specifically for it.
I also thought of something. A lot of times people will wonder if they can put retinol on their eyelids.
Oh, yeah.
And we would just like to say, maybe don't do this because the skin is so thin around that area. We've actually, it's not fun. If you do end up with irritation and kind of you will experience like scaling and irritation. So that was one thing I feel like sometimes people get carried away with the retinol around the eye.
For sure.
And then finally, what I realized we haven't talked at all, and it's the first thing that you deal with retinol, is purging.
Oh, yeah, that's a great one. Yes.
So purging is very normal. It can be anything from flaking, redness, dryness to actual breakouts. And purging, I know generally the timestamp is around, you're probably dealing with it for about 4 weeks to 6 weeks. And I can tell you, I think sometimes purging can be a lot longer depending how you're using it. So if, let's say, kind of Gloria was saying, you really want to work to getting it to like nightly. But if you are someone that's a little bit more like, you're going at it at a slower pace. So let's say you're on board. You're good enough with doing it every other night. I feel like that purging process can be so much longer.
Yeah, it's true.
And so that was just something I think sometimes it can be really confusing where they feel like, oh, hard cutoff, I'm still purging. This means it's not working for me. It can be longer. And also can be dependent on how aggressive you are with your retinol or retinoids in general. So that was just one thing I did want to add there. It can be a little mysterious in the beginning.
I also want to add that. So on my skin's not very retinol tolerant. Right now, I cannot use retinol, but when I get back on it, I have to acclimate every time. If I take a pause from retinol, I have to reacclimate. And usually, and that's such a good point. If you are someone that experiences like irritation from retinol, where I draw the line is shedding. I'm like, whatever, it be what it be. It's gonna shed, and once it's done, it's great. But for me, it's when it's skin experience like painfulness, like when it's tingly. I definitely wait till that goes away before I keep going or ramp up. Because like sometimes it takes a couple of days for that effect to kick in.
Totally.
Like there was one time I thought, well, I'm doing great with this 0.5. It's time to go to a 0.5. And I think it was an Obagi one. Obagi has a pretty reliable line of retinol. And I went to their 0.5. First day, feels great. Next 2 days, I don't feel anything. And I kept using it and I was like, wow, I think I'm ready for daily. Oh my God, the pain. Like Aquafix felt like I was like burning my skin on fire, and like washing my face was painful. Just don't let it get to that point.
Yeah. And that actually reminded me of another thing that happens is sometimes when you take a break from, let's say you used to be a tretinoin user and then you take a break for a long period of time. Sometimes the expectation is that, oh, my skin has had that history before, it'll be fine for me to get back on track. But skin essentially starts from zero. Yeah. And that's really common as well. We're like, wait a second, I used to use like a 0.1% tretinoin. Like what happened, And then you're like back down to where you feel like even a 0.5% retinol feels like a lot. So I just want to put that out there that's actually can be pretty normal, and that's just how skin is. You kind of just have to work your way back up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, I think that's it.
We reached the end.
We did the retinol episode finally.
Was that helpful? Hopefully it's helpful.
Do we sound needy? We're probably sound very needy.
We're ending every Meets podcast with, was that helpful?
Yes. Tell us yes, please.
Awesome. Yeah.
So that's it. Let us know if you have more retinol questions. This is a big topic. that we clearly apparently don't talk about enough. So where can they find us if we have questions?
Yes, so you can find us visit our website at chemistconfessions.com, where we include all our blog material there and our retinol guides. You can reach out to us with questions at info@chemistconfessions.com. You can DM us at our Instagram handle, chemist.confessions, or just put all your questions in the comments below and we will definitely get to them. But otherwise, we really hope you enjoy this episode. Thank you guys.
See you next week. Bye.